I'm Merritt Ansa, and you're listening to the Devoted Dreamers podcast, the podcast for dreamers, creators, and makers who are eager to wake up in the morning with the confidence to say, this is who God made me, and this is the dream He's given me. If you have a dream on your heart, but you're confused about how to move forward, or you have fear, anxiety, and you worry that you're not enough, you're halted by comparison because somebody else is already doing your dream, or you're struggling to believe there is anything God could ever use you for, welcome to Season 7. You're about to receive the encouragement you need to pursue that dream. Through the stories of women just like you who have faced their fears, fought back lies, taken bold steps, and are still in the middle of it. Stick around and you will be emboldened to take the next step. Grow in confidence in your identity in Christ, become sure of His faithfulness in your life, and be inspired by the good He will fuel through you in the world. Because, sister, the victory is already yours. Hey dreamers, welcome back to another encouraging conversation on the Devoted Dreamers podcast. But before we jump into that, I want to share another review from a listener with you. It's called Inspired in Saskatchewan. Dear Merritt, I found this podcast only a few weeks ago, and not only has it lifted me up, but also a good friend of mine. When I listen to you, Merritt, it's like you're right in my living room. Your honesty and openness is so refreshing. Thank you for what you do, and please keep them coming. Of course, I will keep them coming. Thank you, sweet dream sister. It is so fun to hear from you across the border, especially this week with my Canadian-born guest. Thanks for listening and sharing how the show has impacted you. And if you're loving this podcast and looking for a way to inspire other women with your dollars, I want to invite you over to my Patreon page where you can hear more of the heart behind why I'm doing what I'm doing with this podcast and to get involved as a patron of the show. It's quick and easy to sign up for either a monthly or one-time contribution to support this work. Just visit patreon.com/devoteddreamerspodcast. Or you can also click the support this podcast button in your app or scroll down to become a patron in the show description. Like I said, this week's guest is a Canadian, Jaime Fenwick from Bringing Inspiration Home, and I think this one's going to be a real treat as Jaime adds to the conversation we've already begun here about how your dream isn't really about you. Like it might start out feeling as if it is, but then the Lord fuels your fire for others who have struggled similarly and need what you have to give away. It's so fun to see this happen, and I love how Jaime's story exhibits this. Jaime's also going to teach us about the value of being renewed in our dreams and how to do the restorative, transformative work that pushes aside the day-to-day and makes room for organic, creative thought. And there's a bit in there about how important it is to not go it alone as we dream and the benefits she's gleaned from heeding this advice. And if you are a digital hoarder like me, stay tuned. She's got a sweet offer for you and me, and I think you're going to want to know more about it. I can't wait for you to meet her. Let's get to it. Hey, Devoted Dreamers, welcome to the show. So glad to have you with us today. And this episode is going to be really fun. I'm excited to introduce you to Jaime Fenwick. She's the founder of Bringing Inspiration Home, which is a business dedicated to inspiring women to pursue their dreams. That's you. And to tap into their creative gifts through the pursuit of beauty, adventure, and purposeful living. And I'm excited to share with you, or have her share with us, how she's doing that. But a little bit more about Jaime. She is Canadian-born, but lives in California now. She's a photographer, a retreat host, and a creative consultant. She lives with her husband and 3 young children and is passionate about traveling the world and bringing inspiration home. In June, Jaime is leading 2 women's walking retreats in the Cotswolds. Is that how you say that, Jaime?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah. So anyway, welcome, Jaime. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much, Merritt. I'm really excited to be here and to connect with your audience. And yeah, I'm just excited.
So great. Well, I first have to ask you to talk about these women's walking retreats. And I know this kind of like folds into the story about your God-shaped dream. So maybe tell us about that and the retreats.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I actually was able to do a walking trip through the English countryside in the Cotswolds. And I went with a couple of girlfriends and we just had this incredible experience. It was so restorative and transformative for me to just as a mom kind of break away from regular everyday life and routine and experience peace, quiet, tranquility, and the beauty of the Cotswolds. And I felt like I was renewed in my dreams for the future and renewed in my passions. And so I really wanted to share that with other women when I came back. And so I've got 2 trips coming up and there's still room. And then I actually am planning one for Italy later in the year in the fall. So I'm really excited
Wow.
to see other women kind of have these light bulb moments or these times of transformation and restoration in their hearts, and see them really be able to kind of take their dreams and have the time to focus on them, because when we don't have time to let little seedlings be nurtured, those dreams just stay as these little, ideas, these little pipe dreams, and they don't actually have time to really grow and kind of be fanned into a larger flame.
Mm, I love that. And I can relate to that because I've had this season of being off of social media, and it took about 3 weeks of letting go of my kind of habitual scrolling for my brain to kind of start percolating new ideas. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I know
Yeah.
your trips are probably not 3 weeks long.
No, they're 5
Yeah,
days, but
yeah.
honestly, there's something to I've done a lot of research in the past couple of years on walking and how it inspires creative thinking, and the people who have walked in the past, and whether they've been philosophers or Jesus spending time in the wilderness, or modern day innovators who use that time, and walking is directly correlated to producing more organic creative thought. And so I really experienced that, and I'm excited to share that. And so we'll be going through some content that helps women to tap into their creative sides throughout those walks.
Mm, that is so cool. What a unique and fun idea.
Yeah.
And I'm already like, huh, Italy? I wonder if I
Yeah.
could go to Italy.
We'll be doing the Amalfi Coast in late
Oh,
September.
oh my goodness. That's awesome.
It should
Did
be
you,
good.
did you say September?
Yeah, late September.
Okay. Well, put a little note in my brain about that.
Yeah, dreams have to start somewhere, right?
They do, yeah. Well, define for us and describe your God-shaped dream. What kind of percolated from your walking?
So I was at the time, I had been a wedding photographer for 10 years. And I knew I had had my second daughter, and I was spending time trying to work. I was also running a wedding blog. And then, I've got these 2 little girls playing at my feet, asking for my attention, needing my attention. And I had felt leading up until kind of that walk like both a mediocre mom and a mediocre businesswoman, because I wasn't really devoting my time to like one or the other. I felt very much tugged in separate directions. And so I took a sabbatical, and that trip was part of that year-long sabbatical. And I knew that I wanted to return to some form of work, but I knew it wasn't going to be wedding photography. It just took up too much of my personality and my energy to use that there. But I knew that I wanted to serve other women. I also knew that I wanted to inspire women to look around them in their life, whether they were traveling, whether they were working, whether they were at home with little ones, and to find inspiration that they could kind of use to build dreams in their own life, and bring beauty and creativity and rhythms into their life that would enhance their their lives and their livelihoods and their creativity. And so I didn't know quite what I was going to be getting into, but I hired a business coach, and she helped walk me through this process of figuring out what it was. And so Bringing Inspiration Home was born, and I wanted to build this beautiful kind of community that could reach out to women and help them tap into their creative gifts and pursue their dreams. And so that's what I'm doing.
Mm, that is so fun. So talk about the what it was like to work with a business coach and how she helped you.
So working as I guess a solopreneur, as an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur, working alone, it was really amazing having somebody keep me accountable and also give me guidance in terms of creating an online shop. I had never done that before. I'd never been involved in e-commerce, and I had never um, done creative consulting and working with other brands. And so she kind of helped me figure out what was suitable for my lifestyle, because I really wanted to work in a way that would still enable me to be a great mom, a mom who felt like I was really pouring into my kids and my family in such a way that just felt right and whole. And so she helped kind of guide me to figure out my niche and some different facets of business that could work for me and would fit into our family rather than our family trying to fit into a business. And so that was very critical for me and hugely inspiring as I went forward, because I wasn't feeling defeated and disappointed each time I kept, making steps forward. I didn't feel like I was taking away from our family. So that was really key for me.
Mm-hmm. And do you still work with her, or was that just kind of like a business launching
That was
session?
that was a 6 month session,
Hmm.
and now that's been about 2 years since I started with her and started that process. And now I am providing some of those very same services for other entrepreneurs who are wanting to pursue their dreams.
That's so cool. I
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
come full circle.
Yeah. And I think you're right that it's super helpful to kind of get outside the bubble of your own brain.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is just really hard to do all these things all on our own. And yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with going in and being like, I need some help.
Well, and I feel like a lot of the the opportunities that are out there now for a lot of women or moms who are trying to find something to do on the side, there's no map for this. There's no,
Hmm.
oh, A plus B equals C. And it's very ambiguous and can be really daunting. And so I think we need to tap into the resources that women who have gone before us have at their disposal and can teach us and help us and figure out how we can do this, because often time is very limited. And so we want to use that time really effectively. And so hiring someone, and for me, it was essentially helping me to not waste my time and go down rabbit trails that I didn't need to be going down.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, isn't that the truth?
Mm-hmm.
Well, talk about kind of some of the fears that you faced at the beginning and how those impacted you as you were kind of shifting, after that sabbatical and starting some new things.
So at the beginning, I really felt like I was an imposter because I was stepping out of a career and business that I had been entrenched in for a decade and stepping into something that I wasn't as formally trained in. I had a fine art degree and a photography degree, and so I was still using a lot of my skills, but stepping into something different
Mhm.
was it made me feel a bit insecure. So I think hiring a business coach helped give me like that kind of confidence. And it made me realize too that the only way that I was going to pursue some of the dreams I had for our own family, like having some acreage one day, traveling the world, I was going to have to conquer some of these fears. If I wanted to do this, I needed to do more than just the business I'd been doing and pursue dreams that really helped me to thrive. And so those fears just started to melt away as I pursued what was truly me. And
Mm.
that was a really amazing experience.
Well, I think in my experience, as you start to pursue something and like realize like, oh yeah, this is my wheelhouse, it builds that strength or that courage in you to like try more along those lines.
Absolutely. You gain momentum and you see
Hmm.
where things are working and you see where they aren't. And you say, okay, I'm going to leave the things that aren't working behind. I'm going to pursue the things that feel natural, that feel more instinctive. And then I also feel like I'm not going to be so burned out when I pursue what I'm truly meant to be doing. And that's what I had experienced before. I had experienced major burnout and I didn't know if I wanted to go back to the work I was doing. And now I feel like I need to kind of always rein it in because I may burn out for another reason, because I'm really passionate about what I'm doing at this point in time. It's working with my family. And so I have to be careful that way. And so there's more, like regulations and self-regulating that
Yeah.
I need to have in place. Now with 3 kids, I need that self-regulating kind of process and rhythms even more.
Of course. Oh my gosh. Yeah. 3.
Yes.
No small thing.
No.
Well, talk about some of the good decisions that you've made along the way, and then maybe a bad decision that you made.
Sure. Absolutely. So I mean, best decision ever was the man I married. He is such a champion and supporter of my dreams. And that goes a long way when you're feeling insecure and uncertain about, what the next phase of a process or a dream is going to look like, or if you have to change directions and you've lost opportunities or things have changed, and having someone to support you and cheerlead you along the way and see the whole process with you, as for me, that has been that's been vital. It's been very key. And then paying for training and having that business coach, that was an amazing experience to have that, and really gave me a good foundation and footing for going forward. And then really creating an office and studio space, that has been huge for me, because I would say my worst decision was to try and work with my kids underfoot. That it just made my heart break, because they just wanted that time with me. And even to work during nap time, that was really difficult too, because I felt like I was scrambling to work as soon as they were down or in quiet time. And then I would get irritated if they ever popped out or a baby woke up. And then after that, I'm trying to make dinner and they're up, and I didn't actually have a true rest. And so I just decided I needed to stop working during quiet and nap time, even though that was really that's a good chunk of time that I could use to work. It wasn't worth it. And just to step back when my family needs me, to trust that instinct, because there've been many times when I haven't, and I've made decisions out of fear. Oh, what if I don't work enough hours this week? What if I don't connect with that person? I might lose out on this opportunity. And the reason why I'm pursuing these dreams and these passions of mine is for my family. For, a lot of it is for the opportunities and the freedom that we'll have to spend more time together, and teaching my children and spending time with them. And so I just need to always be checking in with what my soul needs and giving, and my family needs, and giving them that time. Yeah, it's so important. And it relieves me of the mom guilt. And so now I try and make decisions that are not based on mom guilt, because those were some of the worst decisions I made too, based on mom guilt.
Do you have an example?
So if I was spending time working in my office and thinking oh, you know what? They need me, the babysitter right now. She's got the kids, but my kids need me right now. And I feel so bad. And I'm going to cut off an hour early and go in there. That's not making a decision based on what my kids truly need. That's making a decision based on some nagging little voice inside that says you know what? You shouldn't be in there. You shouldn't be working right now. How dare you take away that time from your kids? That is not truth. And it's not good for anybody. And so I try and really just make decisions that are good for our family and good for the business, but not based on guilt I feel for stepping away to do what I feel called to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really helpful, because you're right. That wasn't your kids calling to you. That was that little voice, that little mean voice that's you have no business doing this. You have children,
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Well, you mentioned a minute ago about when your soul needs a break and kind of reconnecting in that way. What are some of the practices that you've instituted to give yourself that break?
I know that walking, I'll keep returning to this, I think, for the rest of my life. Walking is so vital. It gives me this time in nature, or even if I can't get out, into a more wilderness area, because I live in the burbs, I live in the suburbs. And so sometimes just getting out and walking in my neighborhood or hitting the gym, just getting that time away, that break. But then also taking little, almost like mini breaks from like daily life, getting rest. A couple of years ago, we did a summer of technology Sabbaths where our Saturdays were technology free, and our rest in those evening, like at night, we've never slept so good. It was unreal. And it just felt like going back to another time. And it's really hard to do that all during the week, but to do that once in a while, or even like once a month, it's just so restorative and refreshing. And then also I've really been focusing a lot more on like digital minimalism lately, and scaling back and paring things back so that I can do things more with my hands. So like foraging for, florals or clippings that I can bring into my home, that has been really therapeutic for me. And if I only have a few minutes to grab something quick from outside and bring it in, that's fine. If I can spend a half an hour, that's great too. But just small things that keep my hands kind of like in touch with nature, those have been really vital to my thriving. And then anytime I get a chance to have quiet, which is so rare,
right.
But I seek it out, and I try and be disciplined enough to get that. And my husband and I try and make sure that we give that to each other. So those have been vital.
I love it. Those are some really fun examples. I don't have much of a yard, so I can slightly imagine foraging.
I don't either. We have a very, very small yard, and yet we were really blessed to move into a place that had it all kind of landscaped. Yeah. But honestly, just looking for like clippings off of trees, or going down your neighborhood, and if there's like overhanging branches with like berries or things like that. Or we were up in the Sierras last week, and there were these big, beautiful pine cones, and I just brought home like half a dozen pine cones and put them in a basket on our table. And it's just small things like that.
Yeah. Sounds like a really simple and kind of unique suggestion, something that I wouldn't naturally think of. So I appreciate you mentioning that. That's really cool.
Absolutely. I do like little videos and stuff I share with everybody on Instagram, like what I'm finding around. And it's been fun to kind of inspire other people to do that too.
Yeah. So cool. I wanted to ask you, just kind of in the midst of this topic of finding rest and soul care, is there a verse of scripture that has just kind of been a comfort to you in this season that you're in right now?
Actually, it's a verse that we do in song with our kids before bed every night. And it's 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. And I'm not going to sing it for you here.
Oh, but I really want you
to. And it goes with little actions, and it's very sweet. And for one thing, the sound mind as a parent with little ones, taking hold of that promise that we can have sanity is very helpful, but also that spirit of fear and power and love when we're pursuing our dreams and pursuing the things that God has called us to. If we can relinquish the fear that can take hold of us when we have a dream that we want to pursue, but we're too afraid to step out, we can rely on the promise that God has not given us the spirit of fear, that is not of him. And that he has given us power and love and a sound mind. And we can take those three things and go forward and pursue our dreams with those. And that's an amazing toolkit to have on hand.
Yeah. I might have to have you sing that for me when we're not recording.
Off recording, sure. Sounds good.
Or maybe you'll do it in your Instagram stories at some point.
I was going to say, I should have my girls, we should sing it before bed. And then my voice can kind of,
Yes. You don't have to be as self-conscious.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to ask you just to kind of share more about bringing inspiration home, and what are the different offerings? So we know about your walking retreats, but what else are you doing and sharing with women?
So I offer the creative consulting. So whether that's somebody that wants to pursue a dream that's not business-based, or they want to pursue something that is a business, whether that's a side hustle, or they're wanting to take a side side gig and make it more of a full-time position, or just more of what their work entails, then I work with them, whether that's doing social media strategies or full-on coaching, and then also brand aesthetics, and helping them kind of find their voice and really go forward, knowing that the time that we have spent together is helping move the needle forward with their business or their passion or their dream. I love brainstorming and helping build up other women in what they are pursuing. And so that's been really fun. And then also working with other brands, and specifically small businesses and brands, to provide them with photography services. So that brings in kind of my photography passion, and I get to work with brands and small businesses to help, provide them with imagery that they need, or do teaching. But then also something I started in this past year is doing some online workshops, because we can't all go away to a retreat, or just, there are things that we can learn. And in a way, if we can't do coaching, we can do an online course or a workshop, and that works better for us in that season of life. And so I did one this last winter, and I'll be doing it kind of probably a couple times throughout the year. And it's on how to get better photos of your kids throughout the holidays, or throughout, your summer vacations and that kind of thing. And then also digital decluttering. I am really passionate about this because I am a photographer and a mom. So I feel like I have double the amount of photos, and we have become, I feel like, a generation of digital hoarders. We're getting really good, I feel like, at decluttering our homes and being more minimalistic that way, and getting back to some of the simpler joys of having less. But when we look at our phones and see the number count, it can be really burdensome. And I think we don't realize that, like, how much digital clutter actually puts a weight on us. So I'm very passionate about that. And so I'm doing workshops and an online digital decluttering course, walking you through how to do it, because I have spent the last couple of years doing this for myself. How do I wade through the month of photos I've taken? How do I deal with the backlog of images and text messages and files on my computer, and all of these things that are just, we're going to leave to our kids, and they're going to have to deal with millions of files and images. And I want to leave them with something tangible and a true heirloom. And so I've got some ways that I'm helping others, process all of this digital clutter, and make it so that what we do keep is truly valued.
That, my friend, is so vital. My husband would be like cheering if he could hear you say that, because he'll take like 6 pictures of the girls and then delete all but one. And I'm like, but wait, what are you doing? And he's like, oh my gosh. So
when we have less, we value what we have more. When we have too many, we can't even enjoy them.
Yep.
And so I'm really making a point of being ruthless. And that's hard for me. I'm really sentimental, but I'm just trying to, I don't want to leave my kids with a burden. I want to leave them with something that is to cherish.
That's a great way to put it, because if you're just cleaning out, great. But that idea of leaving an heirloom, leaving something they can cherish, leaving something they don't have to like muddle through to like find the treasure, is like, that's so great.
Absolutely.
I need you. I need you in my life.
Let's do the course. It'll be awesome.
Well, talk about the course, because I know you wanted to offer a discount code for listeners. So let's get into that.
Absolutely. So the digital declutter course that I'm offering later in the year is going to primarily feature photographs, because that takes up a large portion of what we have stored on our phones and our hard drives or in the cloud. And that's where we can really work to create something for the next generation, and something that we can enjoy in the meantime. And it can also, I'm going to go through how to take photos in a way that we aren't, first of all, taking as many, because that helps to kind of like staunch the flow a little bit.
Sure.
And then how to do this on a regular basis so that you're not dealing with catch up. So how to, at the end of the day or at the end of the week, go through your photos and different ways to categorize them and edit them in a way that's really simplified and doable. And then also we'll be going through some really basic kind of editing so that you can get those photos in print, whether that's into a photo book or in traditional prints, or if you're framing your images. And then what types of offerings you can like have around your home or leave for the future, and what works, what doesn't, what's the best way to divide up those images in the future. Like not just looking at now, but you know, when your kids leave home, how are you going to divide up those images? How are you going to pass these on? And then also how to deal with the backlog of potentially a decade of digital images on different platforms and hard drives and that kind of thing, and how to manage that, how to go through all of those images and not have that be something that takes another 10 years. You know, we're not going to you're going to be able to go through more than just, you know, 1 year's worth of photos in 1 year. So I want people to feel like this is a manageable, realistic thing, and that they can move forward with some really great tools for taking photos that matter, and knowing when to not even pick up the phone and or the camera, and to just be present, and how to do that.
That's great guidance. Okay. So digital decluttering, you had a 15% off code?
Yes. So that will be Dreamer 15. So
awesome.
Provide the link for you that you can include in the show notes, and
yep,
your audience can go ahead and sign up. I'm really excited to meet a lot of the people who are going to be doing this course along with me.
Yeah. And you said it before that it's going to be open for a limited time. So I'll put the dates of that course and the link, all of that in the show notes so that you can grab it. Those of you who listen to the podcast in real time, you'll have an opportunity to get involved. And girl, I really need it. So
awesome.
Thank you.
There might be another opening throughout the year. So if people are listening to this later on, then I'll honor that code throughout the rest of 2020.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's so kind. Okay. I'm going to make a note of that. All right. Well, I also wanted to ask you, we've talked about a lot of different realms of kind of how you've gotten to the place that you are right now with your dream and all these great offerings that you have. What do you feel like has been the greatest threat to your dream?
So I was thinking about this just before we connected, and I actually was thinking back to an experience about, 7 years ago. And I think I had an experience that really shook my kind of desire to pursue what I have in my heart and my dreams. And it really rattled me. So 7 years ago, my husband and I we were on a round the world backpacking trip before having kids. We'd saved up for years. This had been a dream of mine since I was 16, to one day backpack around the world with my husband when we were newlyweds. And we were finally doing this. And we were 5 weeks into a 4.5-month trip when we were on a 2-day camel trek in Wadi Rum in Jordan. And I was thrown from my camel. This wasn't even my first rodeo. This was my second camel trek.
Oh my gosh.
I landed pretty hard, wound up fracturing my pelvis in 2 places, and landed up in a very, very bare bones local military hospital for a couple of weeks, and then a few more weeks on bed rest. And that entire trip was shot to pieces, and the whole dream was gone. And I had waited for my entire adult life to do this. And I thought, like, what is the purpose of this? And there were definitely silver linings, people I met, experiences I had through that, lessons I learned. But I think the biggest lesson that I learned was to not give up. And no, I can't recreate that dream, but it really, I could have sat back and said, you know what? I'm done. Like, I just had my biggest dream totally obliterated, and I am done. I am done with dreaming big. I'm just going to keep these dreams small and attainable and doable, and I'm not going to pursue the big things that God has put on my heart. And it took me a while to recover that passion to pursue dreams, but I am so glad that I did not give up and that I did not let fear thwart future dreams. And so that's been on my heart lately, that I'm just so grateful that God did not let me give up dreaming big.
There's so many things in our world, in our lives, that are a threat to giving or to staying the course. And wow, I can't even imagine.
It was brutal. But I think too, it's really taught me a lot of empathy for others. And when somebody else's dreams are shattered, I have a lot more compassion and empathy for them. And it's taught me not to waste so much time wallowing in my disappointment and to move on a little more quickly and be like, okay, you know what? That dream, I have either experienced a quote unquote failure, something not turning out the way I had hoped, and we're going to move on, because I could spend my time immersed in the fear that comes with wondering what next, or I can spend that time taking action. And so I would much rather take action and move on and trust that there will be lessons learned from the failure or the experience lost that will serve me well in the future.
Right. That's great. Oh, this has been really fun, Jaime. I'm so glad that we connected and have gotten a chance to just get to know each other a little bit and hear what God's doing in your heart to be able to care for and support other women in their dreams, and just love it. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to ask you to just kind of close us out with just a little bit of your own reflection and a summary of how this experience of not giving up on your dream and stepping out in faith to follow what God's given you, how has that changed you?
I think in the past, pursuing dreams felt very singular and very individualistic, and I was really focused on my own dreams and pursuing my goals. And now I'm getting choked up. Now I have this just passion for seeing other women's dreams come to life and helping them nurture those little seedlings, because when we don't protect them, when we don't nurture them, they can get so easily trampled and fall almost into the wrong hands. And so I want to walk alongside other women now and not just pursue my own dreams, but I want to see other women pursue theirs. And I love that it's broadened into something bigger. And I want to help those women who have these ideas, or maybe they don't have ideas right now because all of their creativity or their dreams have been put on the back burner for so long that they need kind of someone to come alongside them and take those things off the back burner and tap into them again to see them revitalized. And I just am so excited to do that alongside other women so that we can be doing this together and inspiring the next generation to do the same, to not live in fear, but to pursue their dreams, to pursue those little inklings, those little seedlings of ideas, and to watch them grow. And sometimes they don't grow. Sometimes, you know what, they stay hidden for a while or they morph into something else, but just walking forward in faith and in community, I think is so important. So I am just really excited and passionate to see other women's dreams just burst forth and change the world that they live in.
If you've been looking for inspiration that could fuel your dream, this was the episode for you. You'll find the show notes at meritonsa.com/podcast/141. There you can also connect with Jaime, learn more about her courses, workshops, and specifically get that code for her deal on that digital decluttering workshop that's coming up soon. There are so many things I loved about this conversation, but I think my big takeaway is that when you pursue what's natural for you, what's instinctive, that the fears kind of begin to melt away and it gives momentum a chance to take over. And if you're already doing that, you've found your thing, you feel like you're pursuing what's natural, and you still have a little bit of fear, I'd love to challenge you to think about the specific steps you're taking that may be just slightly off that path of what's instinctive for you specifically. Like maybe there's a way you can shift just a tiny little bit. Maybe you can engage help from someone who's really gifted at those things. Who knows? You might even have a friend who would totally thrive at the things that drive you deep into the fear cycle. And you could approach her, have an honest conversation about how to work together to advance this dream. Just throwing it out there as a little food for thought. Let me know over in the Facebook group if you want to process this in a little bit more detail. We would love to help you think it through. We all want to make an impact, right? I mean, what are those dreams about anyway? Well, here's a quick way to do that right now for someone who needs what you just heard. Will you take a screenshot of this episode, tag me at MerrittJO, and share it in your Instagram stories so that together we can get this encouraging message into the earbuds of the women who are ready to fight back fear, trust their identity in Christ, and unleash the dreams He's given them for their lives. It's so simple to do, and they will thank you for your recommendation. Then, before you go, if you were encouraged by today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review of the show over on iTunes so other dreamers just like you can find the podcast. Until next time, I would love to connect with you over on Instagram or in the Devoted Dreamers Insiders group on Facebook, where you'll find a community of like-minded women who love Jesus and are in the midst of pursuing the dream He's placed on their hearts. Thank you so much for joining me today, and wherever you are with your God-shaped dreams, may you have the courage to take one step toward their realization today.